Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are cracking open the vault on the ultimate social cheat code. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to instantly win the trust, respect, and admiration of everyone they meet within the first few seconds of walking into a room? Before they even have a chance to show their resume, talk about their achievements, or pitch their business ideas, the people around them have already decided that they like them, trust them, and want to do business with them. Conversely, have you ever felt like you were digging yourself out of a deep psychological hole because an initial meeting started off on the wrong foot? We are doing a massive, deep dive story breakdown of the absolute masterclass strategy behind human perception, nonverbal engineering, and immediate rapport. This guide draws directly from the elite behavioral psychology frameworks used by undercover intelligence agents, top-tier diplomats, and executive charisma coaches to teach you how to nail a powerful first impression every single time. Most people believe that making a great first impression is an organic, accidental event. They think it depends on your physical attractiveness, your natural extroversion, or just plain luck. But behavioral science proves that human perception is an exact science. When you meet a stranger, their primitive brain runs a highly predictable, survival-driven diagnostic script on your posture, your eyes, your hands, and your vocal tone. If you know how to pass that diagnostic test intentionally, you can bypass their natural skepticism, trigger an instant flood of psychological safety, and command absolute respect before the conversation even begins. Get incredibly comfortable, grab a fresh notebook, eliminate all distractions, and let us discover how to master the unspoken laws of immediate human connection. Part 1. The Evolutionary Blueprint of Judgment. Let us start our story by traveling back to the dawn of human history. Imagine standing on the open savanna, tens of thousands of years ago. A figure appears on the horizon, walking rapidly toward your campfire. Your brain does not have the luxury of sitting down with this stranger, having a long conversation over coffee, and slowly evaluating their character over 3 weeks. If that stranger is a hostile enemy, a single moment of hesitation means certain death for you and your family. To keep you alive, your evolutionary biology developed an ultra-fast subconscious scanning system managed entirely by your primitive amygdala. This system forces the human brain to make a comprehensive evaluation of any new person within the first blink of an eye. Modern psychological studies confirm that this ancient mechanism is fully active today. When you walk into a modern corporate boardroom, a casual party, or a blind date, the people across from you make an indelible assessment of your economic status, your intelligence, your trustworthiness, and your authority within the first 7 seconds. The tragedy of the modern world is that most people are completely blind to this evolutionary blueprint. They walk into a room thinking about their presentation slides or their resume, while their body language is broadcasting low-status, defensive signals that trigger the evolutionary alarms of the listener. To nail a powerful first impression, you must stop treating the first few seconds as casual small talk. You must look at it as a high-stakes biological security clearance, where your posture, your alignment, and your hands serve as your ultimate credentials. Part 2. The hands as the ultimate trust signal. Now that we understand the evolutionary mechanics of judgment, let us look at the single biggest mistake that ruins a first impression before a word is even spoken: hiding your hands. Think about what happens when an average person walks into a networking event or a business meeting. Because they feel a slight wave of social anxiety, they instinctively look for a place to hide their vulnerability. They shove their hands deep into their pants pockets, cross their arms tightly across their chest, or hide their hands underneath a notebook or a clipboard. To your listener's primitive brain, this hidden posture sends an immediate red alert signal. On the prehistoric savanna, if a stranger approached you with their hands hidden behind their back or buried in a cloak, it meant they were likely concealing a sharp stone weapon, a knife, or a piece of poison. Even though we live in a civilized world today, when your hands are invisible, the other person's subconscious mind automatically experiences a spike in cortisol, making them feel naturally guarded, suspicious, and cold toward you. To pass the trust diagnostic instantly, you must practice the strategy of radical hand exposure. When you walk into a space, keep your hands entirely visible and completely relaxed. If you are standing, keep your hands out of your pockets and gently relaxed at your sides. If you are sitting at a conference table, place your hands clearly on top of the desk space, rather than burying them underneath the table. When you show your palms and keep your hands open, you are broadcasting a universal, nonverbal message of peace and absolute transparency. You are telling their primitive brain Look, my hands are empty. I am not concealing any weapons, and I have absolutely nothing to hide. This simple adjustment bypasses their evolutionary defense mechanisms, allowing an immediate sense of psychological warmth and deep safety to flood the interaction. Part 3. The engineering of the high-status greeting. Once you have exposed your hands and established an open frame of trust, you must execute the physical greeting with absolute precision. The book outlines 3 non-negotiable physical components that turn an ordinary introduction into a memorable showcase of executive authority. The rule of the perpendicular alignment. Most people approach a new acquaintance at an angled or sideways trajectory, or they attempt to initiate a greeting while actively walking past them. This casual, sloppy approach screams a lack of focus and low social status. An elite communicator practices the rule of perpendicular alignment. When you are introduced to someone, you do not just turn your head toward them, you rotate your entire torso, your shoulders, and your pelvis so that you are directly facing them face to face. This full frontal alignment sends a massive psychological compliment to the recipient. It tells them, right now, at this exact moment, you possess my absolute, undivided attention. You are the most important entity in this space. By aligning your physical framework entirely with theirs, you project an aura of immense confidence, emotional presence, and profound respect that forces them to instantly dial into your reality. The mechanics of the equalizing handshake. The classic corporate handshake is a minefield of bad behavioral habits. We have all experienced the aggressive power tripper who tries to squeeze your fingers into dust or rotate their palm downward to show dominance. We have also experienced the wet fish handshake, where someone hands you a limp, cold, lifeless palm that instantly projects a total lack of confidence and energy. A masterful first impression requires the equalizing handshake. Your hand must enter the space completely parallel to the ground, with your thumb pointing straight up to the ceiling. Advance until the web of your thumb and index finger makes firm, complete contact with the web of their hand. Apply a firm, steady pressure that matches the exact grip strength of the other person. Shake twice from the elbow and release cleanly. By keeping your palm perfectly vertical, you are establishing a relationship built on mutual respect and absolute equality. You are telling them non-verbally that you are neither a submissive servant to be walked over nor an arrogant tyrant looking for a fight. You are a high-status peer who operates with absolute poise, balance, and professionalism. The geometry of the open smile delay. The third physical component of the high-status greeting lives within your facial muscles. Most people flash an immediate, generic, hyper-fast smile the exact millisecond they make eye contact with a new person. This fast smile looks entirely mechanical, fake, and identical to the smile you give to a store clerk or a casual passerby. To make your greeting unforgettable, you must deploy the open smile delay. When your eyes first land on the person, do not smile immediately. Instead, look into their eyes for 1 full second. Allow a wave of genuine recognition and warmth to anchor in your mind, and then let a deep, authentic, beautiful smile slowly flood across your face and into your eyes. This deliberate delay acts as a powerful psychological trigger. It convinces the recipient that your smile isn't just a standard social mask that you wear for everyone. It is a unique, personalized reaction that was generated specifically because of the immense pleasure of meeting them personally. It wraps the introduction in an aura of deep sincerity and charisma, making them feel incredibly valued and magnetically drawn to your presence. Part 4. The strategic control of the first verbal volley. Now that your physical mechanics have nailed the nonverbal introduction, the spotlight shifts directly to your vocal cords. What are the very first words that escape your mouth when the silent greeting ends? Most people completely drop the ball here by offering boring, automated phrases like, "Nice to meet you," or "How are you doing?" delivered in a nervous, rushed tone. To command the room from the very first sentence, you must master your vocal pitch. Under stress, your throat muscles naturally constrict, forcing your voice to rise into a higher, reedy register that betrays your internal anxiety. Before you utter a single syllable, take a deep breath into your diaphragm, drop your vocal register to its authentic lower register, and deliver your opening line with a calm, deliberate downward inflection. Furthermore, step away from automated cliches and deploy a strategy called the contextual hook. Instead of just stating your name and your corporate title, tie your introduction directly to a fascinating, positive aspect of the current environment or the shared connection that brought you together. If you are at a tech conference, do not just say, "I am an engineer at a software firm." Say, I am David, and I have spent the last 3 weeks looking forward to this specific panel because the shift toward decentralized data is completely rewriting our entire development roadmap this quarter. Notice the radical difference in energy. You have bypassed the standard conversational script. You have framed yourself as someone who possesses intense passion, intellectual curiosity, and an exciting perspective. You give the other person an instant narrative handle to grab onto, transforming a dull introductory exchange into an exciting playground of mutual ideas. Part 5. The Power of the Active Listening Reframe. Let us look at a profound secret of high-level charisma. The most attractive, memorable people in the world are not the ones who spend 80% of the time talking about their own achievements, their wealth, or their personal life stories to impress the room. The true giants of human connection are the ones who possess the rare, disciplined ability to make the listener feel like the absolute center of the universe. To execute this level of connection during a first impression, you must master the active listening reframe. Most people treat listening as a passive waiting period, where they stand silently, waiting for the other person to stop talking so they can jump back in with their own story. Their eyes wander, they nod their head mechanically, and their internal mind is completely hyper-focused on preparing their next line. An elite operator listens with their entire physical and intellectual framework. When the other person is speaking, maintain deep, steady, eye-contact anchoring. Tilt your head slightly to one side, which is a universal biological signal, proving that you are deeply processing their audio stream. Most importantly, when it is your turn to speak, do not just offer a new point. First, reframe their exact emotional core back to them using a process called cognitive labeling. If a client spends 2 minutes explaining the chaos of their current supply chain, do not just jump in with your product pitch. Look them in the eyes, pause for 2 seconds, and say, "It sounds like the sudden unpredictability of your international shipping lanes has put an immense amount of pressure on your local team's fulfillment schedule this winter." This technique is an absolute psychological masterstroke. When you mirror their inner reality back to them with absolute accuracy, you trigger a deep neurological release of dopamine in their brain. They experience a profound sensation of being truly heard, understood, and validated. They will naturally associate that incredible emotional high with your presence, making them think, "Wow, this is one of the most intelligent, empathetic, and competent human beings I have ever met in my life." 6. Navigating the delicate etiquette of high-status circles. As you move through high-stakes professional environments, major networking events, and executive circles, you must understand the unspoken etiquette rules that separate true cultural elites from low-status pretenders. One of the most critical tests of your presence during a first impression is how you handle the visual and structural architecture of the space. First, let us address the concept of spatial trespassing. Low-status individuals often suffer from a complete lack of spatial awareness. They walk up too close to a high-status individual, breaching their personal protective bubble, and standing within an arm's distance during the very first minute of an introduction. This triggers an immediate, subconscious, fight-or-flight panic response in the recipient, forcing them to take a defensive step backward to re-establish their boundary. To nail your impression, you must respect the golden geometric radius of communication. Always maintain a respectful distance of approximately 3 to 4 feet during the initial introduction. This distance provides immense psychological breathing room, showing that you possess the self-restraint, maturity, and social elegance to respect their personal sovereignty. Only advance closer if they explicitly invite you into their space via an open arm gesture, a touch on the shoulder, or an intense leaning posture. Second, become a master of the art of the elegant exit. A beautiful first impression can be completely ruined if you drag the conversation out until it dies a slow, awkward, painful death from exhaustion. Amateurs stay stuck in a conversation for 40 minutes because they do not know how to leave without sounding rude. An elite communicator always ends the conversation when the energy is at its absolute peak. Before the dialogue hits a natural lull, look them in the eyes, deliver a warm, flooding smile, and draw a clear boundary on the interaction while providing a concrete bridge for the future. Say, "Michael, it has been an absolute pleasure diving into your upcoming real estate project, but I promised my business partners I would connect with the keynote speaker before the next session begins. Let us swap business cards right now so we can continue this strategy over a brief call next Tuesday afternoon." Notice the flawless structure of this exit. You didn't leave because you were bored. or because the conversation went cold. You left because you are a high-status individual with external responsibilities, professional commitments, and an active schedule. You leave them wanting more of your presence, ensuring that your first impression remains anchored in their memory as a bright, crisp, high-value encounter. Part 7. Overcoming the psychological rebound of social anxiety. Let us look at the internal battle that every human being faces when trying to execute these masterclass techniques. You can study the nonverbal scripts perfectly. You can understand hand exposure, alignment, and the smile delay. But the moment you walk into a room full of powerful executives or beautiful strangers, your internal critic wakes up and starts screaming, "You don't belong here. You are an imposter." Everyone can see how nervous you are. This psychological friction causes thousands of brilliant people to freeze up, revert back to defensive body language, and hide in the corners of the room. To defeat this inner demon once and for all, you must execute a total cognitive re-engineering technique known as the reality recentering. Realize that the social anxiety you feel is not a factual statement about your lack of worth or competence. It is simply a temporary electrical glitch in your primitive amygdala, which is mistakenly trying to protect you from an imaginary prehistoric tribal banishment. You must look at that anxiety not as a stop sign, but as raw, unpolished kinetic energy that your body is handing you to power your performance. Furthermore, recognize that every single person inside that room, no matter how rich, successful, or confident they appear on the surface, is fighting their own silent battle with the exact same insecurities. They are walking into the event hoping that someone will approach them, make them feel comfortable, and save them from their own social isolation. When you shift your perspective from self-protection to radical service, your fear completely vanishes. Walk through that doorway not as an applicant begging for the room's approval, but as a high-status leader who is arriving to deliver warmth, clarity, safety, and immense value to everyone present. When you choose to become the psychological anchor of the room, you step into an unshakable confidence that turns every initial encounter into a legendary showcase of your personal power. Part 8. The Roadmap to Global Charismatic Mastery. As our profound journey through the science of human perception reaches its ultimate conclusion, remember this definitive truth. A first impression is not a casual accident of birth, looks, or luck. It is a highly predictable, beautifully engineered psychological script that you have the absolute power to control, rewrite, and master every single day of your life. Stop letting the ancient savannah fears keep you locked in defensive, invisible body language. Stop hiding your hands in your pockets, stop rushing your smiles, and stop settling for automated, boring introductions that bury your true brilliance in the background of society. Step into your authentic, personal sovereignty today. Walk into every single room with the majestic, kinetic entrance. Align your entire framework perpendicularly with those you greet. Expose your hands to broadcast absolute trust. Drop your voice to its rich diaphragmatic register. Deploy the open smile delay, and listen with a radical, generous presence that lifts others to their highest potential. When you possess the unshakable courage to master these unspoken laws of first impressions, you unlock the ultimate golden keys to human influence and social abundance. The doors of professional wealth will swing open effortlessly before you. You will command instant authority in your career, magnetize elite relationships into your personal reality, inspire everyone around you to achieve greatness, and discover that your presence has become a magnificent, unforgettable instrument of lasting global impact. What is the very first nonverbal or vocal technique from this first impression masterclass? Whether it is implementing the open smile delay or ensuring radical hand exposure that you are going to commit to practicing during your very next face-to-face introduction today? Let me know your communication breakthroughs in the comments down below. If this deep dive summary shattered your social hesitations and handed you a bulletproof architectural blueprint for unshakable immediate connection, show some incredible love by clicking that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another transformative communication, leadership, or prosperity book breakdown. And share this video with a colleague who wants to level up their social confidence today. Expose your hands, delay your smile, own your first impression, and I will see you in the next video.